What's going on? James Bonnett's here, and in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about whether or not you should have a moral obligation to sell your knowledge or whether you should hold that knowledge close to your heart. And don't forget, make sure you subscribe and click notifications so you get all the content that I'll be releasing each and every week. All right, so there's this debate, right? This debate on whether you have a moral obligation about selling your knowledge online, or maybe you should just keep doing what you're doing and not share it with anyone, okay? And the difference between those two, all right? So I think about my own story. I think about the times I spent all night trying to get my local marketing agency going. The 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, banging my head against the wall, the sleepless nights, the times spent away from my family, especially when my son was, 2 and 3 years old, trying to figure it out. And through trial and error and time spent and basically, grinding, you find this kind of breakthrough where you take all the little pieces that you've learned through that journey and finally you come up with a quote unquote product, right? It's a product of your environment, a product of your knowledge that is actually working in the marketplace. And then you take that and you run with it. Okay. And when things like that happen and things like that, all that sacrifice finally pays off and you start to reap the rewards, a lot of people feel an obligation to do the opposite of what they should do. Okay. And that obligation might be holding it close to their heart because everything they've gone through, they feel they deserve the outcome of that. And then everybody behind them who are still banging their head against the wall, who still can't figure it out. They can't figure out how to make extra money. They can't figure out how to make an extra $1,000 online. They can't figure out how to build a business without having to put hundreds of thousands of dollars down. All those people aren't reaping your rewards. And so you could have one or two thoughts about that. You could have a thought of, I've gone through the shit, part of my language, but I've gone through that, so I deserve this. But all those other people who are also trying to do the same thing, they are also going through it. And what if they don't get that breakthrough? What if they don't get that aha moment? What if, they have 4 kids at home and they can't spend the time that I was able to spend when I only had 1 kid? What if people's situations are different and they just needed a roadmap? They just needed the knowledge of somebody who's gone through that journey so they can just skip ahead and reap the same rewards. And that's kind of where the morality comes into play, right? Do you keep that knowledge close to your heart, or do you sell that knowledge? And I've come to the conclusion many years later where keeping information hidden is a very selfish thing to do, especially if you have the opportunity to teach it and change their life, right? We can go and look at college, we can go look at high school and elementary school, and especially during these times, the importance of school, right? It gives your kids things to do. Obviously, they have to learn something to prepare them for the future. And there's a cost to that education, right? Taxpayers pay it. The town pays it. The government gives assistance to certain areas to educate the kids. colleges the parents pay or the kids pay. Maybe there's some grants, scholarships, whatever it might be. But somebody is going to pay the bill so they can learn the knowledge, which that's a whole nother discussion. Whether you're learning the knowledge to ever do anything with it in traditional education is most likely not for the most part, unless you're like doctor, lawyer, whatever it might be. But most of the time you learn on the job. But there is a cost to that education. So if you can overcome maybe the moral hurdle of charging for your knowledge, if you can overcome that, knowing that education costs money, and then you overcome that, but then you still don't do what you know in your heart you should do, which is helping people get to where they are and solving their problems, overcoming all the obstacles that you overcame, packaging it up and selling it to them because education costs money, overcoming those hurdles, and you still don't do it, that might be the moral issue. Because to think that you shouldn't is playing on the wrong side of the field. There are people out there that can learn from you. From myself and Jason over the last 3.5 years. And we've changed I shouldn't say we. Our knowledge has changed countless people's lives, and then their work is what solidified it. So if you've ever thought about selling your knowledge, it's okay. It's the right thing to do. And if you've ever thought that you don't feel comfortable doing it, well, I want you to think about all the people who basically have the problems that you can solve and you not giving them the answers. What's the moral thoughts you have about that? You have to ask yourself that question. So when it comes to selling your knowledge, here's the thing. I believe wholeheartedly people who have solutions for problems have the moral obligation to not only put it out there for people to choose whether they want it or not, but also to charge it. Because the price point is a drop in the bucket for what that knowledge can do for them in their life. So if you've ever thought about creating an online course, I hope you do it. And I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just click this subscribe button and the notification so you get more information like this. But I do know a lot of people who struggle morally with that. You know, do I release the knowledge that I have that's got me to where I am today? Should I charge for it or should I not? And I unequivocally say you should. If you want to learn our process, our 6-step process that we use to sell over $20 million plus and counting of our online programs, there's a link in the description down below. You can get that PDF. That's all. Name and email is all we require, and there's nothing for sale anywhere. So talk to you guys later, and thanks for watching.